Welcome to this in-depth audiobook summary of Don Quixote by Miguel de Cervantes. This novel, originally published in two parts in 1605 and 1615, is widely regarded as one of the greatest works of literature ever written. It is a story of adventure, madness, humor, and profound human insight. Today we will journey through its themes, characters, and events in rich detail. Let's begin. The birth of Don Quixote's madness. In a quiet village in La Mancha, Spain, lives an aging gentleman named Alonso Quixano. He is neither rich nor poor, but he has one great passion: books. Not just any books, but stories of knights, chivalry, and heroic quests. These tales transport him to a world where honor, bravery, and romance reign supreme. Over time, his obsession grows. He reads late into the night, neglects his household, and forgets to eat. His mind, overwhelmed by these tales, begins to blur the line between fiction and reality. One day he makes a bold decision. He will become a knight. Not just any knight, but one who revives the golden age of chivalry. Thus, Alonso Quixano becomes Don Quixote de la Mancha. But a knight needs a noble steed. He finds an old, skinny, and tired horse, but in his eyes, it is a majestic war horse. He names it Rocinante, a name meant to symbolize its greatness. A knight also needs a lady to fight for. In his village, there is a simple peasant woman named Aldonza Lorenzo, whom he has never spoken to. Yet, in his mind, she is a noble lady of unparalleled beauty and grace. He names her Dulcinea del Toboso and swears eternal loyalty to her. Finally, he needs armor. He finds an old rusted suit of armor from his ancestors, missing pieces and barely holding together. He repairs it as best he can and sets off on his first great adventure. The foolish knight's first adventure. With his mind full of tales of glory, Don Quixote rides into the countryside in search of a noble quest. He soon arrives at a small roadside inn, but in his delusion, he believes it to be a grand castle. The innkeeper and guests, amused by his madness, play along. He asks the innkeeper, whom he mistakes for a great lord, to formally knight him. The innkeeper, seeing an opportunity for amusement, performs a fake ceremony, and Don Quixote rides away, convinced that he is now a true knight. His first act of heroism, however, quickly goes wrong. He sees a young boy being beaten by a cruel farmer. Enraged, Don Quixote demands the farmer free the boy and swear he will treat him well. The farmer agrees, and Don Quixote rides off, proud of his chivalry. However, as soon as he leaves, the farmer beats the boy even harder than before. This tragic moment sets the tone for much of Don Quixote's journey. His noble intentions often lead to disaster. Sancho Panza joins the adventure. Realizing that all great knights have squires, Don Quixote convinces a simple farmer, Sancho Panza, to join him. He promises Sancho a great reward, an entire kingdom to rule. Sancho, though skeptical, agrees, hoping to gain something out of the adventure. Sancho is the perfect opposite of Don Quixote. Where Don Quixote is idealistic, Sancho is practical. Where Don Quixote sees knights and monsters, Sancho sees farmers and windmills. He serves as the voice of reason, but his loyalty to Don Quixote keeps him from abandoning the mad knight. The famous battle with the windmills. One of the most iconic moments in literature occurs when Don Quixote sees a field of giant windmills. But to him, they are evil giants, towering over the land, threatening the innocent. Despite Sancho's protests, Don Quixote charges at them with his lance, only to be thrown to the ground when his weapon gets caught in the windmill's blade. Bruised and battered, he refuses to believe he was wrong. Instead, he insists that an evil magician transformed the giants into windmills to trick him. This scene perfectly captures Don Quixote's delusion, his refusal to accept the world as it is. Misadventures, battles, and humiliation. As Don Quixote and Sancho continue their journey, they encounter more absurd situations. He fights a group of monks, believing they are kidnappers. He attacks a herd of sheep, convinced they are a great army. He challenges a barber over a simple shaving basin, thinking it is a legendary golden helmet. Again and again, Don Quixote is defeated, beaten, and humiliated. But he never loses faith in his mission. Sancho, despite his doubts, remains loyal, partly out of hope for his promised reward. A cruel joke, the Duke and Duchess. One day Don Quixote and Sancho meet a wealthy Duke and Duchess who have heard of his madness. Instead of helping him, they decide to play cruel tricks on him for their amusement. They stage elaborate hoaxes, convincing Don Quixote that he is on a great quest. They even convince Sancho that he has become the governor of an island, which is just a small town where people are told to obey his foolish orders. Sancho soon realizes that ruling is not what he imagined, and he gives up his fake governorship. The end of the dream. Despite all the ridicule, Don Quixote never abandons his dream until he is defeated in battle by a rival knight, who is actually a friend in disguise. The terms of the duel demand that Don Quixote return home and abandon his life as a knight. Heartbroken, he obeys. Back in his village, Don Quixote falls ill. His mind clears, and he realizes that his adventures were all a fantasy. He renounces his life as a knight and reclaims his true identity, Alonso Quixano. Shortly after, he dies, leaving behind a legacy that would inspire generations. The meaning of Don Quixote. At its heart, Don Quixote is a story about the power and danger of dreams. Don Quixote's madness is tragic, but it is also beautiful. He refuses to see the world as ordinary. He chooses to believe in heroism, romance, and magic, even when reality proves him wrong. Sancho Panza, though practical, is also changed by his journey. In the end, he too begins to see a bit of magic in Don Quixote's dreams. This novel explores illusion versus reality, comedy versus tragedy, and idealism versus pragmatism. Even centuries after it was written, it still speaks to anyone who has ever dared to dream. Thank you for listening to this deep and detailed summary of Don Quixote. I hope this journey has helped you understand the brilliance of Cervantes' masterpiece. The end. Thanks for watching my video. Subscribe.